Hello, hey. Good morning, everybody. It's nice to see everyone here bright and early at 9 a.m. My goodness. I guess we've all had our coffee, all had our tea, all feeling all right. Okay. Well, hey, I appreciate you all joining today. These NDC events are always pretty awesome to be a part of, so it's great to be here and share with y'all one of my favorite challenges on the web. And that's accessibility, but not just accessibility, but how do we make modern day web of live dynamic data accessible for everybody? So my name is Daniel Yuschick. I've been working on the front end for about 15, 16 years. My first job was as assistant webmaster, or assistant to the webmaster, depending on which one of us you asked. And through that time, I developed really a passion for accessibility and design systems, which led me to my current role as lead design systems developer at Posti, which is the National Postal Service of Finland. In this role, being a public entity, a public space, the European Accessibility Act very much applies to the work that we do. So the stuff that we're going over today are things that I look at and advocate for and train on every single day in my job. So what we're looking at is going to be live dynamic data, and our goals are going to be to understand how do we communicate that data using live regions. We're going to understand what problems do these live regions solve, and we'll learn as well how best to use them in maybe some instances where maybe we shouldn't use live regions. And we're going to dig into what all of this stuff means as well, as we first meet our persona. Any astute observer would have noticed on my little intro slide here that one of my interests is writing books, an author. And this talk is very much a bridge of writing horror fiction and technical talk. So we're going to have a main character today, a zombie, and we're going to follow their journey as they try and order groceries online, aka brains. And as we go through this process of being placed in their shoes, trying to use the web the way that they would use it, we're going to hopefully achieve a lot by learning about live regions, ordering brains online successfully, and hopefully achieve all of our goals for the day. And then one last piece of housekeeping here. This is my personal favorite. Does anyone here know the TV show Psych? Nice. 2 hands. Okay, 3 hands. All right. That's the most hands I've seen. It's a really weird show. It's kind of older. But through all 8 seasons, every episode in all 8 seasons, there is a hidden pineapple in the episodes. Now, back in like 2005 or whenever this would air new, you could watch the episode, find the pineapple, fill out a form online, and be entered to win a prize. So I thought I would like to bring a little bit of Psych into my own presentations, mourning its recent departure from Netflix. And in my slides somewhere today, there is a pineapple. It looks exactly like this one, and it's somewhere in the slides today. And if you're the first one to find it, scream, shout pineapple, stand up, dance, do something, get my attention. And the first person to get my attention when they find the pineapple will win a little prize. Seems pretty straightforward. So in case you're wondering, this one doesn't count though. Normally people try and point out that, hey, there it is already. I'm the winner. This one doesn't count, but it looks exactly like this one. So we have accessibility, live regions, zombies, brains, and pineapples. I think all of our housekeeping is now covered. So what I'd like to do now is introduce everyone to our main character of the day. And for that, I will take a step back and let the magic of AI introduce you to her yourself.
Hello, everybody. I'm Romero.
Well, hello there, Romero. It's been a while since I've seen you. Romero and I go way back. We've been doing this talk for a little bit now, but for the people here, maybe she can tell a little bit more about herself. Like, Romero, how long have you been a zombie?
I haven't been a zombie for long, but I've heard the undead had to do terrible things in the old days to find brains. But now, with the internet, it's easier.
That's great to hear. And forever, that's been the promise of the internet, to make things easier, to make things better, to make communication quicker and easier, better, faster, stronger, everything. The internet is supposed to bring all these things together and make the lives of everyday people better. That's been the promise pretty much since day one. So it's terrific to know that even in Romero's new undead phase of her life, the internet is still making her life easier.
At least it's supposed to be.
Oh.
Sometimes it's really hard to use and to find what I need with my screen reader.
I think that's a challenge a lot of people face using screen readers and other assistive technologies, especially with modern day web. Everything's dynamic. Single page applications. We haven't refreshed the browser in I don't know how long. So all of this live data that's always populating and changing and everything, how do we make sure we communicate that effectively to screen readers? Maybe Romero can tell us a little bit more about what the challenges are that she faces using her screen reader.
Before I was a zombie, I could see all the notifications, alerts, and things on a page. But now that I can't, gosh, I have no idea what's happening. It's not usable.
I think that makes sense. Think about whenever you go to a website, you first get the cookie consent banner that pops up. You then get another pop-up about signing up for some mailing list or newsletter. Then you probably get another toast message that says something else about some deal or discount. So much stuff is flying in and changing on the page live, and then it just disappears in a few minutes or a few seconds. All of this stuff is dynamic and only communicated visually. So how do we make sure that we communicate those types of changes programmatically as well? But Romero, we have a room full of developers here. Maybe could you state your problem in a way that, I don't know, maybe they understand a little bit better? Can you maybe speak their language a little bit?
So, as one of the undead, I want to order brains online so I can sustain myself.
All right, now every project manager in the building is happy. We have our official user story. As one of the undead, I want to order brains online so I can sustain myself. Seems like a really valid use case. Feels like a really important user story to address. And now that we have that defined, let's take a look and see what our project will be today. Let me introduce you to Grim and Grace. It's a high-end zombie lifestyle e-commerce website. You can get everything from home decor to your clothing, or in this case, our delicacies. You can order your Zombeaver, your Zombrains, Zomburgers, Zombat, Zombeetles, anything, any zombie pun you can think of, you can get from this website. And as we navigate around in this demo, in what I'll refer to as our sighted demo, where we're just navigating visually using our mouse as the input device, we first try to add the Zombeaver to our cart, and we're given an error message. So then we go over to the zombie brain, try to add that to our cart, and then we get that same little toast message in the bottom of the screen that says we've successfully added that item to our cart. This is a relatively common pattern that we see. Little toast messages popping up in the bottom of the screen to communicate errors and success states and stuff like that. And while in this sighted demo, we're able to understand what information is being communicated, if we step into Romero's shoes, strap on our zombie vision goggles, we'll be able to hear and experience firsthand what this exact same user flow looks like for Romero, navigating this same website using VoiceOver on Mac.
In Code Pen Demo, Main, High Class Zombie Dinner Party, Image, Heading Level 2, Delicacies, Article, A Zombeaver Delicacy, Image, Link, Add Zombeaver to Cart. Article, A Mature Zombie Brain Delicacy, Image, Link, Add Brain Mature to Cart.
Quite a different experience. Now, Romero was able to interact with our buttons to add the Zombeaver to the cart, and when she interacted with that button, what happened? We can't visually see that an error message popped up. And we're also not communicating programmatically that that error message has popped up. So I don't know, Romero just shrugs, tries the next item, the mature zombie brain, adds that to the cart, and same thing, interacts with the button, and we don't get any response. We don't get any feedback. We don't know what happened. because our toast messages are only communicating visually. And this is at the crux of the problem that we're solving today, because there are two main ways that you can navigate the web. And the first is what we saw in that cited demo, where our focus may be up here in the header. It might be on our avatar or a profile menu, something like that. And then we have an error message pop up in the far other side of the page. Now, if we're visually able to see and understand that this error message is now presented on the screen, we can just move our focus and our attention directly to it. Realistically, it probably looks something more like this, where we just jump over as much content as is in between our current focus and the error message. We can jump in whatever direction over all the content that we want and move our focus directly to that error message. This is free-form navigation. You can move in any direction. You can jump over as much content as you want. You can freely move around the page and move your attention wherever you want to place it. But Romero has a slightly different experience, more akin to a cassette. Her focus may be still on that same profile menu, and that same error message may pop up on the other end of the page. But Romero isn't able to just directly jump and move her focus to it. Her navigation looks a little bit more linear. She would first have to step out of the header section, which she is, and then move one section at a time, either forward or backward, one section at a time through the DOM to now access that error message. Which seems easy enough until you think about the general practice for displaying toast messages and error messages like this is generally to stash them at the bottom of the DOM in their own container. So if you're up here in the header, you might have to traverse quite a huge DOM to get to this error message. Making things worse is if you can't visually see that that error message is even in the UI now, how do you know you even need to navigate to it? Complicating things further is most of these toast messages disappear in 10 seconds, 7 seconds. So you can't see that an error message exists, but you now have to traverse the entire DOM in order to get to it. And by the way, you only have 7 seconds to do so, because once that toast message disappears, that content is gone. It's quite rare that any content in these messages will be stored or saved in some type of log or notifications panel. So a transient message pops up, you don't know it's there, but you have 7 seconds to get to it before that information is lost forever. And this is the way that Romero has to navigate the web, and this is the experience that we just had.
You can think of it as listening to a cassette tape, which you can rewind, fast forward, pause, and play.
Exactly. You can move forward, backward, linear, one step at a time. There are shortcuts and ways to jump around the page, but for this use case, they're not really going to make our lives any easier. We're stuck with this cassette style of navigation. And this here is the crux of what live regions look to solve. And we could think of live regions as a bridge between real-time updates, real-time data that changes live, doesn't take a refresh or anything, the bridge between real-time data and the real-world people trying to consume it. This is the problem that live regions look to solve. And if we understand that, we can look at one of the first of 3 ways that we're going to learn today of how to create a live region on the web. Everything's going to be in wonderful, wonderful tried and true HTML. And we're going to start with the first attribute called ARIA Live. This is the first way that you can make a container or an element a live region in HTML. And what that means is, in this case, any content within this div that changes will be announced to assistive technologies. So any live changing data within this container will be communicated to assistive technologies like screen readers. And we could set ARIA Live to one of 3 values. I think off is pretty straightforward. It's just not going to communicate at all. But we have assertive, which, let's say your screen reader is announcing a long block of content, but then something changes over here in an assertive live region. If your screen reader is only halfway reading through this content and an assertive live region changes, this communication will stop. And this assertive content will be communicated first. So ARIA Live assertive will interrupt whatever is currently being communicated and communicate this first. This is important, urgent information. Whereas setting ARIA Live polite, it will wait for this large block of content to be read, and then it will tell you what has changed in this ARIA Live region. So assertive will interrupt, polite will just kind of wait until it's its turn. So we can use ARIA Live and assertive or polite to create a live region and communicate live dynamic data with assistive technology. So we can map this to our user flow that we were just looking at in our demos, where we're going to use ARIA Live assertive to communicate when there's an error. Whenever there's an error, we want this to be a bit more of an urgent communication, so we're going to use ARIA Live assertive. Then for the success message, we're going to use ARIA Live polite, because this isn't as urgent or necessary, but we would like to politely let you know that everything is working well. And by creating these two simple live regions, we can now put our cited demo and Romero's experience side by side.
In code pen demo, main, high-class zombie dinner party, image, heading level 2, delicacies, article, a zombiver delicacy, image, link, add zombiver to cart. We were unable to add the item to your cart. Please try again. Article, a mature zombie brain delicacy, image, link, add brain mature to cart. Your item was added to the cart.
Terrific. We put those demos side by side, and we now have feature parity. We're communicating visually with the toast messages, but we're also communicating programmatically using the ARIA Live regions. This is awesome. Just by using one ARIA Live attribute in HTML, we can communicate effectively and consistently, both visually and programmatically. But we can take this further. There are 3 more HTML attributes that we can pair with ARIA Live to really have fine-grained control over what is communicated, why, and how. And that first attribute is going to be called ARIA Atomic. This can be set to true or false, false being the default. And whenever ARIA Atomic is false, only the information within that live region that changes will be announced. So if we think of a live region that says cart, and then it has a number of how many items are in that cart. If that whole section is a live region, and that cart value changes from 0 to 1, we're only going to communicate 1, because that's the only data that changed. Whereas if we set ARIA Atomic to true, anytime any data changes within the entire live region will be communicated. So if we have that same cart 0 live region, and we change 0 to 1, we will instead announce cart 1. So ARIA Atomic controls how much of the content in the live region is communicated. Then we have ARIA Busy. This one's maybe the most common or the most familiar. And this tells, again, with true or false, it tells assistive technologies whether to wait or not wait before communicating the information within this region. So if you set ARIA Busy to true, you might have like a loading spinner or something happening within that region, and you're telling the screen readers to say, hey, hold on, we're fetching data, or we're manipulating, we're doing something, we're getting some data. This is not yet ready to communicate. But once we set ARIA Busy back to false, now assistive technologies will understand, cool, we can communicate this. This is now ready. So we can use ARIA Busy to kind of tell assistive technologies when and when not to communicate the changes. And the last one here is ARIA Relevant. This has quite a few values that we can use, but we're really only going to focus on additions and text, which is the default. So anytime that new text is added to a container, a live region container, it's that new text that's been added that will be communicated. Now, as you saw, we could do like removals whenever text is removed from a live region or whatever. This starts getting a little granular and a little deep for today. And really, there's some caution that we should use with any of these attributes.
These properties can be so useful, but their support is inconsistent. It's probably best to avoid them for now.
They're quite inconsistent. But maybe instead of entirely avoiding them, it's maybe best to say maybe avoid relying on them. As with most accessibility, you have to ensure proper testing because there's so much variance and nuance between different operating systems, browsers, versions of assistive technologies and hardware and devices, so many combinations and so many different ways of using it that it's really difficult to create a consistent experience with these properties because there's such widely broad support. There's such different implementations of each one. So you can experiment with them, but you have to ensure you test with them in a bunch of different environments. But it's maybe best to not rely and put everything in that one basket of using these properties, because chances are someone's going to experience these properties in a way that you're not familiar with or you're not expecting. So we could look at maybe a different approach. Whereas ARIA Live and the other attributes that we looked at are kind of the low-level raw values for creating a live region, we can now introduce HTML roles, which are sort of taking those ARIA Live raw values and bundling them together into a slightly more consistent way. We have a few different role values here. And again, for the sake of this talk, we're really only going to focus on alert and status. Now, by using role alert and role status, you're effectively creating an ARIA Live region. You can see the role of alert being mapped to ARIA Live assertive, and you can see role of status being mapped to ARIA Live polite. But there's a few other nuances that they introduce by using the role. And to demo this, we're going to look at another use case here, where in our header, we now have cart of 0, how many items are in our cart. And when we go down and try and add the Zombiever to our cart, we get that same error toast message. That hasn't changed. We're doing the same thing there. But now when we try and add the zombie brain to the cart, we no longer show a successful toast message. We now update that cart value in the header to just say 1. So now we see that there's 1 item in our cart. So now we're kind of mixing and matching some of our live region communications here. We're using a toast message for an error, but now we're just updating the header value of the cart on success. And we can map this new role attribute in HTML to effectively the same type of assertive and polite ARIA Live values. By using role alert, like I said, we're essentially communicating in an assertive way. So we want to use this for our error message. So whenever we click on the Zombiever to add that to our cart, we will use the role alert to communicate that error message. And then whenever we add the zombie brain to the cart and it's successful, we will use the role of status, which will be similar to ARIA Live polite. And one of the nice things about using the roles is it does broaden and increase the support for things like ARIA labels and ARIA labeled by. So what we're able to do in this code sample is whenever a value changes within our role of status, we're going to first communicate the label of this ARIA Live section and then communicate the data that has changed. So using role alert and role status, let's take a look at that same user flow, but now from Romero's perspective.
In code pen demo, main, high class zombie dinner party, image, heading level 2, delicacies, article, a Zombiever delicacy, image, link, add Zombiever to cart. Alert, we were unable to add the item to your cart. Please try again. Article, a mature zombie brain delicacy, image, link, add brain mature to cart. Cart, 1 item.
So by using the role attribute in HTML, we create the ARIA Live regions again. And there's a couple little nuances there. First, whenever we had the error, our screen reader announced alert. That's one of the weird nuances that you need to test because Chrome on Mac using VoiceOver will tend to communicate the word alert whenever using roll alert, but not when you use ARIA Live Assertive. There's little things here that you have to test and find out. Much like using roll status, we're able to use ARIA labeled by and then communicate cart, one item, whenever that data changes. And like I said, these HTML roles are sort of bundles and packages of other attributes, like the other ARIA Live attributes. And if we look at the accessibility tree in Chrome, we can kind of see that difference. We're going to focus in on these sections here where when we're using ARIA Live directly. These are those low-level raw values. We see that we've created a generic role with our own ARIA atomic and relevant values. But when we compare that to the role attribute, we can see that we now have more of a defined role in the accessibility tree. We have a status role or an alert role, and that's bundled with other ARIA atomic and relevant values as well. So ARIA Live are the low-level raw values, and role is sort of the packaged value of some of those. So you might be thinking, okay, I build a single page application, nothing ever refreshes. Should I just make the entire body element or something like that? Should I just make everything a live region? Because we never refresh and we never go to a new page. Like everything's just all done within the single page. So is all content live content?
While all live region content is dynamic, not all dynamic content requires a live region.
So there's going to be, go figure, nuance to this. All live region content will be dynamic, but not all dynamic content requires a live region. And we have a demo to support this. And we have to go through more and more testing to kind of find the balance between what should be communicated as a live region and what can be communicated in a more robust, stable pattern. And for that, we're going to look at search results. So now we've added this search field to our delicacies page. And we're going to type in ZOM. We want to find all of the zombie items in our page. So when we type in ZOM, we now populate a bunch of different results. We have our Zombeaver, our Zombeaster Bunny, our Zombat and Zombies, all the good things that we would want. And we might think, okay, this is live data, right? We're not refreshing. We're just typing some text into the search field, and now we're populating results. Let's use an ARIA Live region. Let's use ARIA Live Polite and communicate this. But this might not create the experience that you think it will or that you might want it to create, because it results in something like this.
Find a product, search text field, search. You are currently on a text field. To enter text in this field, type Z-O-M, a Zombeaver delicacy, Zombeaver Ashwood steak Z 175.99. Z. Add Zombeaver to cart. Add Zombeaver to cart. A Zomburger delicacy, Zomburger raw mince Z 99.99. Z. Add Zomburger to cart. Add Zomburger to cart. A zombie beetle delicacy, Zombeetle African Goliath Z 109.99. Z. Add Zombeetle to cart.
Okay. That wasn't even all the results. I had to just cut it off and just show mercy, show mercy. That's not really the experience we want to create. We populate all of those search results and then we just scream them all at Romero. Because one thing to note is how I'm using VoiceOver in these demos is not how people use screen readers who navigate the web every day use them. If you imagine the VoiceOver being sped up 2 times and just rapid fire, like Eminem's fastest verses, rapid firing all the information at you, that's more so how people navigate with screen readers every day. I've slowed it down for these demos for clarity's sake. So whenever you have a live region, any content that changes within it is essentially just moved into one single long string of content. All your pretty formatting, styling, interactivity is all removed, and it's just now one single line of content. So whenever we communicate all of these search results, we just end up rapid firing them all out at one time. It makes me think of the TV show The Bear. Has anyone seen The Bear? Okay, a few more hands. That's an actual TV show, so like more people have seen that one. That one is good because it follows a kitchen staff and a bunch of cooks inside of a Michelin star restaurant, and it's amazing at putting 10 people inside the kitchen, and all 10 people are shouting at one another, having 5 separate conversations. Everything is screaming and loud. There's fire, there's alarms, and there's all this stuff going on. There's all this chaos, and it just makes you feel anxious and chaotic and stressed, and that's what using a live region in this case kind of creates. You just end up shouting and spitting out a whole bunch of content in one long string that's damn near incomprehensible. So this is where we want to find some of the nuance between when to use live regions and when not to use live regions. So we want to be able to tell assistive technologies that we have found search results for your term, but we also want to provide you the flexibility and freedom to navigate those search results the way that you would want to do that. So instead of marking our search results as a live region, we're going to introduce this new search results kind of header section. And we're going to add a tab index of -1 so that whenever we want to tell Romero or assistive technologies that we have found results, we will programmatically move focus from the input to this new search results header. And we will communicate then that we found search results 7. And now we give the freedom and flexibility to assistive technologies to navigate those 7 search results in any way they see fit. We don't just shout and just give all the information at one time to them. We tell them what we found and let them navigate everything themselves. And now we can implement this slightly more robust pattern that does not use live regions. We can implement this and feel and experience a much better interaction from Romero's perspective.
Find a product, search text field, search. You are currently on a text field. To enter text in this field, type ZOM. ZOM. Search result 7. Group.
By moving the focus to the search results header, we communicate search results 7. We found 7 items that you searched for. Now you have the ability to enter those search results and navigate and consume them whichever way you would like to. We don't just give it all to you at one time. We tell you what we found, and we give you the freedom to do and process those the way that you see is best. So this is an instance where not using a live region creates a more robust and usable experience for assistive technologies. But again, always nuance. We're going to look at another cited demo about what if you have a typo in the search field, or what if you search for something that doesn't exist. Generally, we show a little bit of like no items were found, no search results were found. In this case, it's don't be scared, but we couldn't find what you were looking for, right? And depending on how you look at it, you could see that UI as an error. You can maybe even see that UI as a type of call to action. Because as an error, it's kind of indicating we couldn't find anything. Or perhaps as a call to action. Maybe there's a typo in the search field. Maybe you searched for jacket, but we only have things called coats. You know, it's a little bit of a call to action to maybe check what you searched for. And if we think about errors and call to actions and the urgency that they tend to imply, this is probably a good use case now for live regions, where now our no search results UI is going to be wrapped in a role of alert. We're going to create a live region using the role attribute, and we're going to give it a value of alert to communicate when no results are found in an assertive manner. And now what we're able to do is we're able to combine using live regions for no search results to communicate errors or kind of call to actions with, whenever you do find results, the more robust, stable pattern of moving focus to the search results header and letting you know how many results we found.
Find a product, search text field, search. You are currently on a text field. To enter text in this field, type BRIAN. Don't be scared, but we couldn't find what you're looking for. Brian. You are currently on a text field. BRAIN. Main. Search results to. Group.
We were able to combine the live region for the no results and the robust stable pattern for the results to create a pretty usable experience. And by using the role of alert, we were able to communicate that, hey, no results were found, and then we communicated the search term that you looked for, which was Brian. Hey, nobody's searching for Brian. Anyone named Brian? That's a rare name here, but it only kind of highlights my point that no one's looking for Brian. We're looking for brains. So we understand and communicate that we had a typo in our search string. So then we go back, we type BRAIN, and then we move the focus to the search results header that says search results 2. So we effectively used an ARIA live region to communicate when no results were found. And then we used a more robust standard pattern for when results were found, and we create a very usable experience. And this kind of highlights the nuance and balance you have to find and strike when working with ARIA live regions.
Think of the old phrase, no news is good news. Please tell me when things aren't good, but when they are, it's not as important.
No news is good news, right? When something goes wrong, when something has an error, if there's something that you need to respond to or interact with, you might need to communicate that. That might be pretty important. But whenever something's successful, whenever something's gone to plan, whenever something's all good, is maybe not as important or urgent to communicate that information, right? So finding that balance between when and when not to use ARIA live regions. So we've looked at ARIA live attributes, and we've looked at the role attributes, and there's one more way that we can create a live region in HTML. And that's using a fun little element called output. I think we're all familiar with input, but output, unsung hero, low key, really awesome. And it creates a live region itself. So all we're doing in this case is we're just adding a couple inputs to control the quantity of items in our cart, and then we're associating those input IDs with our output element so that we know that those things go together. It's just like a label, having a label for an input. But we pass IDs from an input to an output. Now, we're not going to use this just yet because we're going to first see what we're even creating. We're going to look at this basic cart page where we have our mature zombie brain and our petite zombie brain in our cart. We have one of each, and we're thinking, you know what, I just got paid, things are good, I think it's still sunny outside, I'm feeling pretty good, I want more brains. So we're going to bump up that quantity, and as we increase the quantity of items in our cart, our order total changes with it, and we visually make these changes. Generally, we just have a little maybe span or text field there, and we just change the text value in that field. We're generally not going to be using output elements. I don't think I've ever stepped into a code base and saw an output element in there. We're generally just updating a text node here. But as we've learned throughout today, is if we're only communicating and changing text and content visually, we're missing out on the programmatic communication.
1. Brain petite quantity. Stepper. You are currently on a stepper inside of a cell. To begin interacting with this stepper, press Ctrl, Option, Shift, down arrow. In stepper. You are currently on a stepper inside of a cell. To decrease this value, press Ctrl, Option, down arrow. To increase this value, press Ctrl, Option, up arrow. To exit this stepper, press Ctrl, Option, Shift, up arrow. Selection replaced. 2. Selection replaced. 3. You are currently on a stepper inside of a cell. 1. Brain mature quantity. Stepper. You are currently on a stepper inside of a cell. To begin interacting with this stepper, press Ctrl, Option, Shift, down arrow. In stepper. Selection replaced. 2. Selection replaced. 3.
Okay, took us a little bit to get there, but we went through each stepper inside of our cart, and we did the same thing. We went from a quantity of 1, and we just incremented that to 2 to 3. And we did that for both items in our cart. And in this demo, we're able to still kind of visually see that the order total changes. But if we just miss that, or, remember there's a big glare on the screen or something, or perhaps Romero's vision changes throughout her undead life. She might not be able to see this value change. So this is where we want to introduce that output element, because using the output element in HTML creates a live region, and the value of that output element will be communicated. So we just have a string of JavaScript here. Effectively, we're just taking the value from each stepper element and multiplying that by the item's cost. And once we take the quantity times the amount, we just set that value to the value of the output. And now if we go back to that same demo with Romero, but instead of just updating a single text node, we update a value of the output element, we'll get a much more usable and clear experience.
1. Brain petite quantity. Stepper. You are currently on a stepper inside of a cell. To begin interacting with this stepper, press Ctrl, Option, Shift, down arrow. In stepper. You are currently on a stepper inside of a cell. To decrease this value, press Ctrl, Option, down arrow. To increase this value, press Ctrl, Option, up arrow. To exit this stepper, press Ctrl, Option, Shift, up arrow. Selection replaced. 2. Selection replaced. 3. Order total, 2,257.96. You are currently on a stepper inside of a cell. 1. Brain mature quantity. Stepper. You are currently on a stepper inside of a cell. To begin interacting with this stepper, press Ctrl, Option, Shift, down arrow. In stepper. Selection replaced. 2. Selection replaced. 3. Order total, 3,257.94.
And now we're not just updating the text node of the order total. We're setting that value to the HTML output element, which creates a live region and communicates that value for us to assistive technology. So we're communicating visually by just updating the text on the screen, and we're also communicating visually by updating the value of the output and communicating that to other technologies. We're communicating in layers. It's a pretty core principle of accessibility, communicating not just visually, but programmatically, communicating in layers. So we looked at ARIA Live, the kind of low-level raw attributes to create ARIA Live regions. We looked at HTML roles, kind of the bundled packaging of those low-level attributes. And now we've looked at the HTML output element. And those are 3 ways that we're able to create ARIA Live regions. So we can do a really quick wrap up for the day. And I want to leave you with kind of, if we take a step back from live regions specifically and just look at accessibility as a whole. I think we have a way that we can look at this to help strengthen the perception and kind of emphasize maybe the key goal and my key hope for today. And of course, the biggest key of the day is the one that does not communicate. Awesome. So accessibility is the difference between including or excluding people, even zombies, from modern life. If we think about it, we pay our taxes online. We find apartments online. We order our electric and phones and water and everything online. We socialize. We date and find friends online. We see doctors and therapists online. We shop. We order groceries. Everything in modern day life is done online. It happens online. So accessibility is not some nice-to-have feature. It's not some extra thing that you can just kind of tack on at the end of the project. Accessibility is a necessity. It is vital, urgent, necessary. And the difference between someone being able to take part in modern day life or being excluded from it. Live regions are just one small part of that. So whenever we're building a product, it's a service for modern day life, and the accessibility of that product is the difference between someone being able to use your product or not and take part in modern day life. Now, you'll be able to download the slides where we do have a recap and a list of some best practices here. And we also have a whole list of resources, other courses, videos, things to dig into for live regions and more accessibility topics. That is everything from my side. So I think it's only important or only best if we give Romero the final word of the day. And our audio has just straight up stopped. So accessibility, just It's a no-brainer. So go for it. And with that, I'd like to say thank you.
Accessibility is the difference between including or excluding people.
I mean, she's not wrong. She's not wrong. Thank you so much. I appreciate your attention. Thank you. Also, no one found the pineapple, so I get free chocolate. So I'm the winner today. Awesome. Yeah, I think we have some time if there's any questions. Yep, we got one here. I think we have a mic to pass around for questions. Yep, it's coming your way. Yep.
Okay, yeah. I just wanted to ask, where was the pineapple?
Where was the pineapple? That's a good question because I never remember. That's why I need people to shout at me. Let's see, was it here? Right here. I placed my little logo down there, replaced with that. So, yep, pineapple was there. Anything else?
Accessibility is the difference between including or excluding people.
Still not wrong. Awesome. Well, hey, I appreciate everyone being here. I know it was super early for day 2. I'm happy to connect on LinkedIn. Always happy to talk about accessibility or zombies. Also cool. I'll be here for the rest of the day here. Feel free to come up, say hey if you have questions or just want to chat more about the topic. And with that, take a break, get some more coffee, get ready for the rest of the day. It's going to be a long one. Thank you so much.